Victoria Chen ripped the check in half and threw the pieces at Marcus Thompson's face. "Get this man off my property, now." $90 million worth of aircraft sat dead on the runway. 18 hours until the most important meeting of her life. And the only person who could save her was a 35-year-old black single father she'd just publicly humiliated in front of her entire team. But here's what Victoria didn't know, what nobody in that hangar knew. Marcus Thompson wasn't just some mechanic who got lucky. He was the man who once brought a crashed F-22 Raptor back to life in the middle of the Afghan desert with nothing but a pocket knife and a prayer. And he was about to teach a billionaire the most expensive lesson of her life. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. The phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Marcus Thompson was already awake. He'd been awake since 5:30, the way he always was, standing in his small kitchen in Newark packing a lunch for his daughter Maya. Turkey sandwich, no crust apple, slices of juice box, and a note he slipped into the corner of her lunchbox every single day. Today's note said, "You are braver than you believe. Love, Daddy." He'd written 847 of those notes, one for every school day since her mother left. The phone kept ringing. Marcus wiped his hands on a dish towel and checked the caller ID. Reggie Washington, his old Air Force buddy, now working private aviation at Teterboro. "Reg, it's not even 7. Someone better be dying." "Brother, I need you." Something in Reggie's voice made Marcus stop moving. "What's wrong?" "You know that G700 I told you about, the one belonging to that tech CEO Victoria Chen? The woman who owns half of Silicon Valley. That's the one. Her jet won't start. Been dead for 6 hours. She's got some merger meeting in London tomorrow worth $4 billion, and if she doesn't get there, the whole deal falls apart." Marcus poured himself coffee with one hand, holding the phone with the other. "Reg, she's got a maintenance team. She's got money to fly in whoever she wants. Why are you calling me?" "Because I already flew in whoever she wants. 3 engineers from MIT, 2 from Boeing, 1 guy who literally designed the G700's avionics system. None of them can figure it out." Marcus took a sip of coffee. And she's losing her mind, Marcus. She's fired 2 people already this morning. She's talking about lawsuits. The whole hangar is a war zone." Reggie paused. "I told her I knew someone who could fix anything." "You shouldn't have done that." "I know, but I did. And now I'm asking you as a friend, as a brother who served with you in Kandahar, please. Just come look at it. If you can't fix it, fine, but at least try." Marcus looked at the clock. Maya's school bus came at 7:45. He had just enough time to drop her off at Mrs. Patterson's next door and make it to Teterboro by 8:30. What's she paying? She hasn't said. But Marcus, this woman is worth $11 billion. She'll pay whatever you ask. Marcus thought about the note in Maya's lunchbox. Thought about the tuition payment due next month for her private school. Thought about the transmission in his Civic that had been making that grinding sound for 3 weeks. "I'll be there in 2 hours." "Thank you, brother. I owe you." "Yeah, you do." He hung up. Maya appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. 8 years old, with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. "Who was that, Daddy?" Marcus knelt down to her level. "That was Uncle Reggie. He needs Daddy's help with something at work." "But today's Saturday. You promised we'd go to the park." The words hit him like a punch. "I know, baby girl. I know I promised, and I'm sorry. But sometimes grown-ups have to help their friends when they're in trouble. You understand that, right?" Maya's lower lip trembled, but she nodded. "Will you be home for dinner?" "I will do everything in my power to be home for dinner, and if I'm late, I'll bring you ice cream." "Deal." "Chocolate." "Is there any other kind?" She smiled, and Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. "Deal." He kissed her forehead, called Mrs. Patterson, and 20 minutes later, he was in his 2009 Honda Civic, heading north on the Garden State Parkway toward Teterboro. The security guard at Teterborough's private terminal looked at Marcus's car like it was a roach that had crawled into a five-star restaurant. "Can I help you?" "Marcus Thompson. I'm here to see Reggie Washington, about the Chen aircraft." The guard checked his clipboard, then checked it again, clearly not believing what he was reading. "You're the specialist." "That's what they tell me." The guard made a call, spoke quietly, then handed Marcus a visitor badge. "Hangar 7. Follow the signs." Marcus drove past rows of gleaming private jets, worth more than he'd make in 100 lifetimes. Gulfstreams, Bombardiers, Cessna Citations, toys for people who had more money than God and less patience than a toddler. Hangar 7 was the largest structure on the property. The doors were open, and inside, under blazing industrial lights, sat the most beautiful aircraft Marcus had ever seen. The Gulfstream G700, $90 million of aerospace engineering, range of 7,500 nautical miles. Top speed of Mach 0.925. The pinnacle of private aviation. And it was completely, utterly dead. Marcus parked his Civic between a Bentley and a Tesla Model S. He grabbed his toolbox from the back seat, the same toolbox he'd carried through 3 deployments held together with duct tape and prayers, and walked into the hangar. The tension hit him like a wall. There were at least 15 people inside, clustered in groups, all of them radiating stress. Men in expensive suits shouting into phones. Engineers hunched over laptops showing diagnostic data. Mechanics standing around looking helpless. And in the center of it all, like a queen holding court in a burning castle, stood Victoria Chen. Marcus had seen her picture in Forbes and Bloomberg, in 100 tech articles. But photographs didn't capture the intensity of her presence. She was small, 5'3" at most, but she commanded the room like she was 7 feet tall. Black hair pulled back severely, designer suit that cost more than his car, eyes that could cut through steel. Right now, those eyes were locked onto a middle-aged man in a Boeing polo shirt. 6 hours, she was saying, her voice like ice cracking. 6 hours and you're telling me you still don't know what's wrong. Ms. Chen, the diagnostic systems are showing no errors. The engines are structurally sound. The avionics are functioning perfectly. On paper, this aircraft should start. But it doesn't start, does it? No, ma'am. So either the paper is lying, or you are. The Boeing engineer's face went red. Ms. Chen, I helped design this aircraft. I am telling you there is no mechanical reason. Then find a non-mechanical reason. Find a spiritual reason. Find a reason involving aliens from Jupiter. I don't care. I need to be in London in 18 hours, and I am not rescheduling this meeting because you and your team of so-called experts can't do your jobs. That's when Reggie appeared at Marcus's side. You made it. Reg, what did you get me into? I know, I'm sorry. But she's right, man. Nobody can figure it out. I've never seen anything like it. Marcus watched Victoria tear into another engineer, this one from MIT based on the sweatshirt. She always liked this worse. This is her being patient. Lord help us all. Victoria suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes swept across the hangar and landed on Marcus. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Victoria started walking toward him. Marcus had faced down insurgents in Afghanistan. He'd landed a crippled helicopter in a sandstorm. He'd been shot at, blown up, and left for dead. None of that prepared him for Victoria Chen's stare. Who are you? Marcus Thompson, ma'am. I'm here to look at your aircraft. Victoria looked him up and down. The worn Carhartt jacket, the steel-toed boots, the toolbox held together with tape. You're here to look at my aircraft. Yes, ma'am. And who exactly sent you? Reggie stepped forward. I did, Ms. Chen. Marcus is the best aviation mechanic I've ever worked with. We served together in the Air Force, if anyone can figure this out. The Air Force? Victoria's voice dripped with contempt. So he worked on military aircraft, fighters, cargo planes, things that were built in the 1980s. I've worked on everything, ma'am, Marcus said quietly. Fighters, cargo, helicopters, and yes, private jets. I've certified on Gulfstream Bombardier Cessna Dassault. Certified. Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. Everyone in this hangar is certified. I have PhDs and patents and 30 years of combined experience standing right here, and none of them can start my airplane. She stepped closer to Marcus. So tell me, Mr. Thompson, what makes you think you can do what they can't? Marcus met her gaze. I don't know that I can, ma'am, but I'd like to try. You'd like to try. Victoria looked at his toolbox. With that, this toolbox has been with me through 3 combat deployments. It's fixed engines in the desert, in the mountains, in the middle of the ocean. It's older than some of the engineers in this room, and it's never let me down. How touching. A sentimental mechanic. Victoria turned to her assistant, a nervous young man with a tablet. David, what's our status with the charter backup? Still working on it, Ms. Chen. Every G700 and G650 in the Northeast is either booked or undergoing maintenance. The earliest we could get anything comparable is, I don't want to hear earliest. I want to hear now. I understand, but stop. Victoria held up her hand. She turned back to Marcus. You want to try? Fine. Try. She stepped aside, gesturing toward the aircraft. But let me be clear about something, Mr. Thompson. I have a meeting in London tomorrow at 9 a.m. Greenwich time. A meeting that has taken me 3 years to arrange. A meeting that will determine whether my company survives or gets absorbed by our competitors. If I miss that meeting, I lose everything. I understand. No, I don't think you do. Victoria moved closer, lowering her voice so only Marcus could hear. I have engineers from MIT standing over there. Boeing engineers. Men who literally built this aircraft. And you? You showed up in a Honda Civic with a toolbox wrapped in tape. Marcus said nothing. If you somehow, by some miracle, managed to fix what they couldn't. Victoria's eyes narrowed. I'll write you a check for $100,000. Right here, right now. A murmur went through the hangar. People had stopped pretending not to listen. But when you fail, and you will fail, I want you to apologize, not to me, to them. She pointed at her engineering team. For wasting everyone's time with this circus. Marcus felt every eye in the hangar on him. He thought about Maya at home with Mrs. Patterson, thought about the park they were supposed to visit, thought about the note in her lunchbox. You are braver than you believe. Ma'am, I don't need $100,000. Victoria blinked. Excuse me. And I'm not going to apologize to anyone for trying to help. If I fail, I fail. I've failed before. I'll fail again. That's how learning works. Victoria's jaw tightened. What I will do, Marcus continued, is look at your aircraft with fresh eyes and honest hands. That's what I came here to do. Now may I get started? The silence in the hangar was absolute. Victoria stared at him for a long moment. Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise maybe, or confusion, or the first tiny crack in her armor of contempt. Then her face hardened again. Fine. Get started. She turned to Reggie. Mr. Washington, you'll supervise. If he touches anything, he's not supposed to have him removed. Yes, ma'am. Victoria walked away, phone already pressed to her ear, shouting at someone about alternative arrangements. Reggie exhaled. Brother, you've got bigger balls than I remembered. Just get me access to the cockpit. They walked toward the aircraft. As they approached, Marcus noticed a young woman standing apart from the other engineers. She was maybe 25, wearing a maintenance uniform, watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Who's that? Sarah Okafor, junior technician. Been with Chen Aviation for about 6 months. She looks like she wants to say something. She probably does. She's been trying to tell everyone something all morning, but nobody listens to her. She's too new, doesn't have enough letters after her name. Marcus made a mental note and climbed the stairs into the aircraft. The cabin was stunning. Hand-stitched leather seats, mahogany panels, a bedroom suite in the back, a shower, a full bar. But Marcus didn't care about any of that. He moved straight to the cockpit. The instrument panels were dark. Emergency power only. He sat in the captain's seat and studied the layout flight controls. Engine indicators, navigation systems, all of it dead. Reggie handed him a tablet. Diagnostic readouts from the last 6 hours. Every test they've run. Marcus scrolled through the data. Engine temperatures, fuel pressure, electrical systems, avionics, all within normal parameters. They're right, he muttered. Right about what? On paper, this plane should start. So what are they missing? Marcus didn't answer. He closed his eyes. Reggie watched him confused. Marcus? What are you doing? Shh. Marcus sat perfectly still, hands resting on the flight controls. He slowed his breathing. Let his mind go quiet. This was something he'd learned in the Air Force from an old master sergeant named Willie Benson. 70 years old, 3 wars, 50 years of turning wrenches. The man could diagnose an engine problem just by listening to it idle. Could feel a vibration that didn't belong from 200 feet away. Machines talk, Willie used to say. Most people are too busy running their mouths to hear them. Marcus listened. At first there was nothing. Just the distant sound of activity in the hangar, the hum of the emergency, lighting the faint whisper of air circulation. Then something. A feeling more than a sound. A pressure. Like the aircraft was holding its breath. Marcus opened his eyes. I need to see the engine room. The engine room. The engines are fine. They tested them 6 different ways. Reggie, I need to see the engine room. 20 minutes later, Marcus was lying on his back beneath the aircraft's left engine flashlight, in his teeth hands, tracing fuel lines. 3 MIT engineers stood nearby, watching with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. The Boeing engineer had refused to participate at all, calling the whole thing a waste of time. Victoria was 30 feet away, pacing phone pressed to her ear. Marcus moved methodically through the engine compartment, checking connections, feeling for anomalies, running his fingers along every pipe and wire. And then he found it. A small valve about the size of his fist, tucked behind the primary fuel delivery system. The pressure relief valve. Marcus pulled himself out from under the engine. Who did the last maintenance on this aircraft? One of the MIT engineers checked his tablet. Full service was completed 3 weeks ago. Standard interval check. And the pressure relief valve. Was it replaced? Let me check. The engineer scrolled through records. Yes, the old one was showing wear. It was replaced with a new unit. Same specs, approved manufacturer. Marcus nodded slowly. I need to see the installation documentation. Why? Because I think I know what's wrong. 15 minutes later, Marcus stood in front of Victoria Chen, holding a tablet. Ms. Chen, I've found your problem. Victoria stopped pacing. The entire hangar went silent. Talk. Marcus turned the tablet so she could see the screen. 3 weeks ago, during routine maintenance, your team replaced the pressure relief valve on the left engine. Standard procedure. Approved parts. Everything by the book. And whoever installed it put it in backward. The silence stretched. Backward, Victoria repeated flatly. Yes, ma'am. The valve works in both orientations. It'll fit either way, but when it's reversed, it restricts fuel flow by about 15%. Not enough to trigger any warnings, not enough to show up on diagnostics, but enough to prevent the engine from reaching ignition pressure. Victoria turned to her head of maintenance, a silver-haired man named Peters. Is this true? Peters looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. I'll need to verify. Verify it now. 10 minutes later, Peters emerged from under the aircraft, face white. He's right. The valve was installed backward. Victoria stood frozen. Marcus continued quietly. The same technician who worked on the left engine also worked on the right. I checked. Same problem. Both valves reversed. And if you fix them, give me 20 minutes and your aircraft will start. Victoria stared at him. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone in the hangar. 3 years of planning. $4 billion. The future of her company. All of it hanging on a 35-year-old mechanic from Newark with a toolbox held together by tape. "Do it," she said. Marcus worked in silence. The engineers watched. Victoria watched. Even Peters, despite his humiliation, couldn't look away. Sarah Okafor appeared at Marcus's side with a wrench he needed before he asked for it. He glanced at her. "You knew, didn't you?" She hesitated. "I suspected. I tried to tell Mr. Peters this morning that we should check the maintenance work from 3 weeks ago, but he said the diagnostics already cleared everything." "Diagnostics don't know everything." "No, they don't." Marcus finished the left valve and moved to the right. "You have good instincts," he said quietly. "Don't let anyone tell you they don't matter." Sarah nodded, a small smile flickering across her face. At exactly 10:47 a.m., Marcus Thompson climbed into the cockpit of the Gulfstream G700. He ran through the startup sequence. Systems check. Fuel check. Ignition protocol. He pressed the button. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then a whine. Low at first building. The left engine began to spin. Then the right. The instruments flickered to life. Screens lit up across the cockpit. Warning lights cleared one by one, replaced by steady green indicators. The engines roared. The most beautiful sound Marcus had ever heard. He looked out the cockpit window. Victoria Chen stood on the hangar floor, frozen. Behind her, engineers were hugging, high-fiving, some of them literally jumping up and down. Marcus shut down the engines and climbed out of the cockpit. Victoria walked toward him slowly, as if in a dream. "You did it." "The aircraft did it, ma'am. I just helped it breathe." Victoria's face worked through emotions Marcus couldn't name. Pride struggling against humility. Anger fighting with gratitude. Then she did something no one expected. She reached into her jacket, pulled out a checkbook, and began writing. $100,000, she said, as promised. She tore the check free and held it out. Marcus looked at it. He thought about Maya, about the tuition, about the transmission in his Civic, about all the ways that money could make their lives easier. Then he thought about the way Victoria had looked at him when he walked in. The contempt in her voice. The certainty that he would fail. He took the check. Victoria's eyes widened slightly. Surprise, perhaps, that he'd accepted. Then Marcus ripped it in half, and in half again, and dropped the pieces on the floor. "I didn't come here for your money, Ms. Chen." Victoria's mouth fell open. "I came because a friend asked for help. That's what I do. I help people." He picked up his toolbox. "Your aircraft is fixed. Your meeting will happen. I hope the merger works out for you." He turned to walk away. "Mr. Thompson." Victoria's voice stopped him. He turned back. She was standing amid the torn pieces of the check, looking at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why tear it up? You could obviously use the money." Marcus considered the question. "Because some things are worth more than money, ma'am. Respect for one. And I figure—" He glanced at the aircraft, then back at her. "I figure you've got enough people in your life who'll do anything for a check. Maybe what you need is someone who won't." He nodded to Reggie, shook Sarah Okafor's hand, and walked out of the hangar. Behind him, the Gulfstream G700 sat humming with life, ready to fly, and Victoria Chen stood motionless, watching him go, feeling something she hadn't felt in a very long time. She just didn't have a word for it yet. Marcus was halfway to his car when he heard footsteps behind him. "Mr. Thompson, wait." He turned. Sarah Okafor was jogging toward him, slightly out of breath. "Ms. Okafor." "Sarah, please." She stopped in front of him, searching for words. "I just wanted to say, what you did in there, I've never seen anything like it." "I just fixed a valve." "That's not what I mean." Sarah glanced back at the hangar. I've been working here 6 months. 6 months of being ignored, talked over, dismissed. And you walked in there and you saw me. You listened to me. Marcus shifted his toolbox to his other hand. You knew the answer before I got here. You just needed someone to hear you say it. But nobody would listen. Then make them listen. Marcus started walking again. Don't wait for permission, Sarah. You've got good instincts. Trust them. Sarah fell into step beside him. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you tear up that check $100,000? That's life-changing money. Marcus reached his Civic and set the toolbox in the back seat. You ever have someone look at you like you're nothing, like you're less than nothing? Sarah nodded slowly. Every day. Then you know, some things cost too much even when they're free. He opened the driver's door. That check came with a price I wasn't willing to pay. What price? Proving her right about me. Sarah frowned. I don't understand. Victoria Chen looked at me and saw exactly what she expected to see. A poor black man who would do anything for money. If I took that check, I'd be confirming everything she already believed. Marcus climbed into the car. But if I walk away? Now she has to wonder. Now she has to think. And maybe, just maybe, she has to change. Sarah stepped back as he started the engine. You think she will change? Marcus smiled, but there was sadness in it. Probably not, but I had to try. He pulled out of the parking space, leaving Sarah standing alone in the lot. In his rearview mirror, he saw her wave once, then turn and walk back toward the hangar. Marcus checked the clock on his dashboard. 11:23 a.m. If he pushed it, he could still make it home in time to take Maya to the park. He'd promised her, and Marcus Thompson didn't break promises to his daughter. The Garden State Parkway was light for a Saturday. Marcus drove with the windows down, letting the October air clear his head. His mind kept drifting back to Victoria Chen's face in that final moment. The confusion, the disbelief, something else underneath something he couldn't quite name. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. This is Marcus. Mr. Thompson. Victoria Chen's voice. Don't hang up. Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. How did you get this number? I'm an $11 billion tech CEO. Getting phone numbers is not particularly challenging. What do you want, Ms. Chen? A pause. When Victoria spoke again, her voice was different, softer, uncertain. I want to understand. Understand what? Why you did what you did. Any of it. Another pause. I've been running scenarios in my head for the last 15 minutes, trying to figure out your angle. What you wanted. What you were playing for. And I can't find it. It doesn't make sense. Marcus changed lanes, passing a slow-moving truck. Maybe that says more about you than it does about me. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe you've spent so long surrounded by people who want something from you that you've forgotten what it looks like when someone doesn't. Silence on the line. That's surprisingly insightful for a mechanic. That's surprisingly honest for a billionaire. Victoria laughed. It was short-surprised, like she hadn't expected it to come out of her own mouth. Mr. Thompson. Marcus. Marcus. She said his name like she was testing the weight of it. I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. The way I spoke to you in that hangar. The things I implied. I was wrong. I was frustrated and scared, and I took it out on you because you were an easy target. That was beneath me. Marcus said nothing. He waited. I've built my entire career on being right, Victoria continued, on being the smartest person in the room, on trusting data over instinct, credentials over experience. And today, a man with a taped-up toolbox proved that everything I believed about expertise was wrong. I didn't prove anything, Ms. Chen. I just fixed a valve. You did more than that. Her voice cracked slightly. You showed my entire team what real competence looks like, not degrees on a wall, not patents or publications, just showing up and doing the work. listening, caring. Marcus exited the parkway, turning onto the local roads that would take him home. Is there a point to this call? Yes. Victoria took a breath. I'm asking you to come back. Come back for what? Not to fix anything. The jet's fine. You made sure of that. A pause. I want you to fly with me, to London. Marcus actually laughed. You're joking. I never joke about business. I want you on that plane. I want to talk, really talk. Not about engines or maintenance or any of that. About how you see the world. About what I'm missing. Ms. Chen, I have a daughter. I promised her I'd take her to the park today. Bring her. What? Bring your daughter. I assume she's never been to London. Consider it an educational experience. Marcus pulled into his driveway and sat there, engine idling. You're serious. I'm always serious. Why? Why do you care what I think about anything? Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Because in 20 years of building companies, acquiring businesses, managing thousands of employees, no one has ever torn up a check in front of me. No one has ever walked away from my money. And I need to understand the kind of person who does that. Maybe I'm just stupid. No, I don't think so. I think you're something else entirely. Something I don't have a word for yet. Another pause. Will you come? Marcus looked at his house. The light was on in the living room. Mrs. Patterson would be inside with Maya, probably watching cartoons. I'll have to ask my daughter. Of course. The plane leaves at 2 o'clock. I'll have a car sent if you decide to come. No car. If I come, I'll drive myself. Stubborn? Careful, there's a difference. Victoria laughed again. It sounded more natural this time. 2 o'clock, Marcus. I hope you'll be there. She hung up. Marcus sat in his car for a full minute, trying to process what had just happened. Then he grabbed his toolbox and walked inside. Mrs. Patterson met him at the door. You're back early. I thought you'd be gone all day. Job finished faster than expected. Where's Maya? Living room. She's been asking about you every 10 minutes. Marcus found his daughter curled up on the couch, watching some animated movie he didn't recognize. Her face lit up when she saw him. Daddy. She launched herself off the couch and into his arms. Marcus caught her, lifting her up, breathing in the smell of her shampoo. Hey, baby girl. You're home. Does this mean we can go to the park? Marcus set her down, kneeling to her level. About that. I need to ask you something important. Maya's face fell. You have to work again. Not exactly. Marcus took her hands. A lady I helped today asked me to fly to London with her, on an airplane, and she said you could come too. Maya's eyes went wide. London, like in England. That's the one. With Big Ben and the Queen's Palace. The Queen's not around anymore, but yes, the palace is still there. Oh my gosh. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Oh my gosh. Daddy, can we? Please, 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 please. Marcus smiled. You'd rather go to London than the park. Daddy, it's London, with the red buses and the telephone booths and... She stopped suddenly, serious. Wait, is this a trick? Are you tricking me? No trick, but it's a long flight, and we'd have to leave soon, like in 2 hours. 2 hours. Maya was already running toward her room. I have to pack. What do I bring? Do they have different clothes in London? What if... Maya. Marcus caught her. Slow down. We need to talk about this. He led her to the couch and sat her down. This lady I helped today. Her name is Victoria. She's very rich and very important, and she wasn't very nice to me when I first got there. Maya frowned. Why not? Because she looked at me and made assumptions. About who I was. About what I could do. She judged me before she knew me. That's mean. It is. But then I fixed her airplane and I think, I think she's starting to see things differently. She called me and apologized, and she wants to understand why I do things the way I do. Maya thought about this. So she was mean, but now she's sorry. That's right. And she wants to learn how to be nice. Marcus smiled. Something like that. Then we should help her, Daddy. That's what you always say. When someone wants to be better, you help them get better. Marcus stared at his daughter, 8 years old, wiser than half the adults he'd ever met. When did you get so smart? I learned from you. Maya grinned. Now can I go pack, please? Marcus kissed her forehead. Go pack, but only one suitcase, and bring a jacket. It's cold in England. Maya sprinted to her room, already listing things she needed to bring. Marcus pulled out his phone and sent a text to the number that had called him. We'll be there at 2, but I'm still driving myself. The response came 30 seconds later. I wouldn't expect anything less. See you soon, Marcus. They arrived at Teterboro at 1:47 p.m. Maya pressed her face against the car window as they approached the hangar, eyes huge. Daddy, that plane is giant. That's because it's a Gulfstream G700 baby, one of the biggest private jets in the world. Is this what you fixed today? It is. You fixed that. Maya looked at him with something approaching awe. Daddy, you're like a superhero. I'm just a mechanic, Maya. Superheroes always say stuff like that. Marcus parked the Civic in the same spot as before. He helped Maya out, grabbed their bags, and walked toward the hangar. This time, the security guard practically jumped out of his booth. Mr. Thompson, Ms. Chen is expecting you. Let me help with your bags. I've got it, thanks. They walked onto the tarmac. Maya held his hand, tightly overwhelmed by the scale of everything around her. Victoria Chen appeared at the top of the aircraft stairs. She'd changed clothes since that morning. Simpler now. Dark jeans, a cashmere sweater, minimal jewelry. She looked almost human. She walked down the stairs and stopped in front of Marcus. You came. I said I would. Victoria's eyes dropped to Maya. And you must be the famous daughter I've heard about. Maya looked up at her father, then back at Victoria. Are you the mean lady who said sorry? Marcus closed his eyes. Maya. But Victoria laughed. A real laugh this time, warm and surprised. Yes, I suppose I am. She knelt down to Maya's level. Your father told you about me. He said you judged him before you knew him. That's mean. My teacher says we should never judge people by how they look. Your teacher is right. I made a mistake. A big one. Are you going to make it again? Victoria glanced up at Marcus, then back at Maya. I'm going to try very hard not to. Maya considered this. Okay. I forgive you. Thank you. That's very generous. Daddy says forgiveness is free, but trust has to be earned. Victoria stood slowly looking at Marcus. She's remarkable. She's her mother's daughter. The words came out before Marcus could stop them carrying more weight than he'd intended. Victoria noticed, but didn't push. Shall we board? We have a schedule to keep. They climbed the stairs into the aircraft. Maya gasped when she saw the cabin. Daddy, there's a bedroom, on an airplane. I know, baby. And a TV, and it's bigger than our TV at home. I know. Victoria smiled, watching Maya explore. She can have the bedroom if she wants. There's a tablet with movies, games, whatever she needs. That's kind. Thank you. It's the least I can do. Victoria gestured toward a seating area near the front of the cabin. Can we talk privately? Marcus looked at Maya, who was already settled into a leather seat, examining the entertainment system with intense concentration. She'll be fine for a few minutes. They moved to the front of the aircraft, away from Maya's earshot. Victoria sat across from Marcus, hands folded in her lap. I owe you more than an apology, she said. You already apologized. I apologized for how I treated you. I haven't apologized for why. Marcus waited. Victoria looked out the window at the tarmac, gathering her thoughts. I grew up poor. Did you know that? I didn't. My parents immigrated from Taiwan when I was 3. My father worked in a restaurant kitchen. My mother cleaned office buildings at night. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Flushing, 4 of us. I slept on a mattress on the floor until I was 12. She turned back to Marcus. Everything I have I built. Every dollar, every connection, every piece of power. I fought for all of it, against people who looked at me the way I looked at you this morning. So you became what you hated. The words hung between them. Victoria flinched. Yes, I suppose I did. She paused. When you walked into that hangar, I saw everything I'd spent my life running from. The assumption that someone who looks a certain way, dresses a certain way, drives a certain car, can't possibly be competent, can't possibly belong. I spent 30 years proving people like that wrong. And then I became one of them. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to understand that it wasn't about you. Not really. It was about me, about my fear, my insecurity. Victoria's voice dropped. I'm terrified, Marcus. All the time. Terrified of losing what I've built. Terrified that someone will see through me, realize I'm still that little girl on the mattress, and take it all away. Marcus leaned back in his seat. You know what I see when I look at you? What? Someone who's been carrying a weight so long she's forgotten what it feels like to put it down. Victoria's eyes glistened. And what do you suggest I do about that? I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a mechanic who got lucky with a valve. Victoria laughed, wiping her eyes. You're more than that. You know you are. Maybe, maybe not. Marcus glanced back at Maya, who was now watching a movie with headphones on. But I do know this. Whatever you're afraid of losing, the money, the power, the reputation, none of it matters if you lose yourself in the process. That sounds like something from a fortune cookie. My grandmother used to say it. She was smarter than any CEO I've ever met. Victoria smiled. Tell me about her. Why? Because I want to know. I want to understand where you come from. What made you into the kind of person who tears up checks and forgives people who don't deserve it? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Her name was Ella Mae Thompson. She raised me after my parents died. I was 7, car accident. Victoria's face softened. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. Grandma Ella lived in a little house in East Baltimore. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a garden out back. She worked as a seamstress until she was 82 years old. Made wedding dresses mostly, beautiful ones. She sounds remarkable. She was. She used to say that there are 2 kinds of people in this world, people who build walls and people who build bridges. The wall builders are afraid. They think if they keep everyone out, they'll be safe. But they end up trapped inside their own fortress alone. And the bridge builders, they're afraid too. But they build anyway, because they know the only way through fear is connection. Marcus looked at Victoria. You've been building walls for 30 years, Ms. Chen. Maybe it's time to try something different. The aircraft's engines started to spin up. A flight attendant appeared, informing them they'd be departing in 10 minutes. Victoria wiped her eyes one more time and straightened in her seat. I don't know if I can change Marcus. I've been this way for so long. You don't have to change everything at once. Just one thing. Start small. Like what? Marcus thought. Tomorrow, at your meeting. Instead of trying to be the smartest person in the room, try being the most curious. Ask questions instead of giving answers. Listen instead of talk. See what happens. Victoria considered this. That sounds terrifying. Probably is. But the best things usually are. Maya appeared beside them. Headphones around her neck. Daddy, the lady said we're about to fly. Can I sit by the window? Please. Marcus smiled. Sure, baby. Let's get you buckled in. He stood, but Victoria caught his arm. Marcus. Thank you. For what? for giving me a chance I didn't deserve." Marcus looked down at her hand on his arm, then back at her face. "Everyone deserves a chance, Ms. Chen. Even billionaires who build walls." He walked Maya to a window seat and helped her with the seatbelt. Through the window, he could see the sun beginning its descent toward the horizon. London was 7 hours away. A lot could change in 7 hours. As the Gulfstream G700 lifted into the sky, Marcus Thompson held his daughter's hand and wondered what exactly he'd gotten himself into. But when he looked at Maya's face, pressed against the window, watching the world shrink beneath them, he knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. That was all that mattered. That was everything. Maya fell asleep 2 hours into the flight. Marcus carried her to the bedroom in the back of the aircraft, tucking her under the soft blanket, brushing hair from her forehead. She murmured something in her sleep, smiled, and went still. He stood there watching her for a long moment. 8 years old, half her life without a mother. And yet somehow she'd turned out braver and kinder than anyone he knew. "She's beautiful." Marcus turned. Victoria stood in the doorway, 2 glasses of wine in her hands. "She's everything." "I can see that." Victoria offered him a glass. "Join me. We still have 5 hours." Marcus took the wine and followed her back to the seating area. The cabin was dim now, the only light coming from small reading lamps and the glow of the flight displays. They sat across from each other. "Can I ask you something personal?" Victoria said. "Depends on how personal." "Maya's mother. What happened?" Marcus took a long drink of wine. "She left 3 years ago. Woke up one morning, packed a bag, said she couldn't do it anymore. Being a mother, being a wife, being anything. Just like that. Just like that. Maya was 5. She asked me every day for a year when Mommy was coming home." Marcus stared into his glass. "I didn't have an answer. Still don't." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Angela made her choice. I made mine. I chose to stay. To show up every day even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard." Victoria was quiet for a moment. "My ex-husband left me too. 12 years ago." Marcus looked up. "I didn't know you were married." "Most people don't. I keep it out of the press." Victoria swirled her wine. "His name was Richard. We met in business school. Got married 3 weeks after graduation. Everyone said we were perfect together. 2 driven people building empires side by side." "What happened?" "I happened." Victoria's voice turned bitter. "I was so focused on success, on proving myself, that I forgot to be a wife, forgot to be human. Richard tried to talk to me about it, tried to tell me we were losing each other. But I didn't listen. I was too busy building walls." And he left. He left. Took nothing, asked for nothing. Just walked away and never looked back. Victoria finished her wine in one long swallow. "That was the worst part. He didn't even fight for us. Just gave up." "Maybe he was tired of fighting alone." Victoria flinched. "Yes, I suppose he was." Silence settled between them, heavy, but not uncomfortable. 2 people who'd been left behind finding unexpected common ground. "Can I tell you something?" Victoria said finally. "Sure. When you walked into that hangar this morning, I was already planning my attack. Before you even opened your mouth, I'd decided you were incompetent. Decided you were beneath me. Decided I was going to destroy you." "Why?" "Because I was terrified. The jet wouldn't start. My meeting was slipping away. Everything I'd worked for was crumbling. And then Reggie brought in someone who looked nothing like the experts I trusted, and I—" She stopped, struggling. "I needed someone to blame, someone to be angry at. You were convenient. So I was a target." "Yes, and I'm ashamed of that." Victoria met his eyes. "I've spent my whole life being underestimated, being dismissed. And the moment I had power, I did the same thing to someone else. What does that make me?" Marcus considered the question. "Human. That's not an excuse." "No, it's not. But it's a start." He set down his glass. You want to know the truth? I wasn't surprised by how you treated me. I've been dealing with people like that my whole life. Bosses who assumed I couldn't read. Officers who thought a black enlisted man couldn't possibly know more than them. Customers who asked to speak to someone more qualified. How do you stand it? You don't stand it. You survive it. And then you prove them wrong, one fixed engine at a time. Marcus leaned forward. But here's what I learned. Anger doesn't fix anything. Resentment doesn't build anything. The only thing that works is showing up, doing the work, and letting the results speak for themselves. That sounds exhausting. It is. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is becoming bitter, becoming hard, becoming someone your 8-year-old daughter wouldn't recognize. Victoria's eyes drifted toward the back of the plane where Maya slept. You do everything for her, don't you? Everything? Even turn down $100,000. Marcus smiled. Especially that. I want her to grow up knowing that her father can't be bought. That some things matter more than money. That integrity isn't just a word people use in speeches. And if she'd been older, if she'd told you to take the money. She wouldn't have, because I raised her to know better. Victoria shook her head slowly. You're not like anyone I've ever met. I'm exactly like a lot of people you've never met. That's the problem. The words landed hard. Victoria looked away, processing. What do you mean? I mean there are thousands of people like me, Ms. Chen. Millions. Good people who work hard, who have skills and experience, who show up every day and do their jobs with pride. But you don't see them. You don't see us. Because we're not in your world. We're the people who fix your planes and clean your offices and serve your food. We're invisible. That's not... It is. You know it is. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. I'm not blaming you. It's not personal. It's just how the system works. People at the top stop seeing people at the bottom. They forget we exist. They forget we're human. Victoria was quiet for a long time. I remember being invisible, she finally said, when I was just starting out. Working 100-hour weeks, sleeping on my office floor, begging for meetings that never happened. I remember being looked through like I wasn't there. And when you finally made it, when people finally saw you, I swore I'd never go back, never be invisible again. Victoria's voice cracked. I didn't realize that climbing that high would make everyone below me disappear. The plane hummed around them. Outside the windows, there was only darkness and stars. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Anything. This meeting tomorrow, the $4 billion merger. What's it actually about? Victoria straightened, shifting into business mode out of habit. It's an acquisition. A smaller company called Nexus Technologies. They have patents we need, talent we want. If we close this deal, Chen Corp becomes the dominant player in AI infrastructure for the next decade. And if you don't close it, then one of our competitors does. And we spend the next 5 years playing catch-up. Victoria paused. That's why I was so desperate this morning. That's why I lost control. This meeting is everything. Is it? Victoria frowned. What do you mean? I mean, is it really everything? Or is it just the thing you've convinced yourself is everything, because it's easier than facing the things that actually matter? The question hung in the air like smoke. I don't know how to answer that. That's probably the most honest thing you've said all day. Victoria laughed despite herself. You're very annoying, you know that. I've been told. By who? My grandmother, my commanding officers, my ex-wife. Take your pick. Victoria leaned back in her seat, studying him. Tell me about the Air Force. How did you end up there? Didn't have a lot of options. Grandma Ella did her best, but there wasn't money for college. The military offered training structure a way forward. I signed up the day after I turned 18. And you became a mechanic. Aviation technician. Fixed F-22s mostly. Some F-35s later on. Best machines ever built, but also the most complicated. They break in ways you can't imagine. But you could fix them. Most of the time, not always. Sometimes the damage was too much. Sometimes the machine was beyond saving. Marcus's eyes went distant. Lost a buddy that way. Jake Morrison. His jet went down in Afghanistan because of an engine failure I couldn't fix in time. I've replayed that day in my head 1,000 times, wondering if I could have worked faster, done something different. Was it your fault? No. The official report said mechanical failure due to combat damage. Nothing anyone could have done. But that doesn't stop the wondering, the guilt. Victoria nodded slowly. I lost my father 5 years ago. Heart attack. Completely unexpected. And for years afterward, I kept thinking about all the times I was too busy to visit, all the phone calls I cut short, all the moments I chose work over family. Guilt is a heavy thing to carry. The heaviest. They sat in silence, two strangers sharing wounds they rarely showed anyone. Can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Victoria said. You sure you want to? No. But I'm going to anyway. She took a breath. The day my father died, I was in a meeting. The hospital called 3 times. My assistant told me it was urgent, and I kept saying 5 more minutes. Let me finish this. Tell them I'll call back. Her voice shook. By the time I called back, he was gone. The last thing my father heard from me was voicemail. The last thing I said to him was that I was too busy. Victoria, don't. She held up a hand. Don't tell me it's okay. Don't tell me I shouldn't blame myself. Because I should. I do. Every single day. Marcus waited. That's why I push so hard, Victoria continued. That's why I can't slow down. Because if I slow down, if I stop moving, I have to think about what I've lost, who I've become. And I can't. I can't face that. So you keep building walls. Yes. And everyone who gets close, everyone who might actually care about you, they get pushed away. Yes. And you tell yourself it's for the best, that you're protecting them, that you're protecting yourself. Victoria's tears spilled over. How do you know all this? Because I did the same thing. After Angela left, I told myself I didn't need anyone. Told myself Maya was enough, that I was fine alone. Built walls so high nobody could see over them. What changed? Maya did. She looked at me one night and said, "Daddy, why don't you have any friends?" 8 years old, and she saw through everything. Victoria wiped her face. What did you do? I started trying. Reached out to Reggie, to some other guys from my unit. Started letting people back in one at a time. It wasn't easy. Still isn't. But Maya was right. We're not meant to be alone. Victoria stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You're kind of amazing, you know that. I'm just a guy trying to do right by his kid. No, you're more than that. You're proof that it's possible. What's possible? To be successful without being cruel. To be strong without being hard. To go through hell and come out the other side still capable of this. She gestured between them. Connection. Honesty. Whatever this is. Marcus smiled softly. This is just two people talking. That's all connection is. Nothing magical about it. It feels magical to me. The words hung between them, charged with something neither of them was ready to name. A soft chime sounded through the cabin. The captain's voice came over the intercom. Ms. Chen. Mr. Thompson. We're about 4 hours out from London. Weather looks good. Should be a smooth approach. Victoria cleared her throat, breaking the spell. Thank you, Captain. She looked at Marcus. We should probably get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be long. Probably. Neither of them moved. Marcus? Yeah. Thank you for listening. For everything. You're welcome. Victoria reached out and touched his hand. Just briefly. Just enough. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if I can do what you suggested. Be curious instead of controlling. Listen instead of talk. It goes against everything I've trained myself to be. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. And if I fail, then you try again. That's all any of us can do. Victoria nodded slowly. She pulled her hand back and stood. I'm going to try to sleep. The bedroom is Maya's, but there's a recline seat in the back that's surprisingly comfortable. I'll stay here. Keep an eye on things. Victoria paused at the edge of the seating area. Marcus? Yeah. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you didn't give up on me. I don't give up on people, Victoria. Not when they're trying. She smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. Good night. Good night. She walked toward the back of the plane. Marcus heard her pause outside the bedroom door, checking on Maya, then moving to the recline seat beyond. He sat alone in the dim cabin, watching the stars through the window, thinking about walls and bridges and all the space between them. 3 hours later, the sky began to lighten. Maya appeared hair-wild from sleep, rubbing her eyes. Daddy! Hey, baby girl, did you sleep okay? I had a dream about flying. She climbed into the seat beside him and curled against his side. We were birds, Daddy, you and me, flying over everything. Marcus wrapped his arm around her. That sounds like a good dream. It was the best dream. Maya looked up at him. Daddy, is the mean lady still mean? I don't think she was ever really mean, baby. I think she was just scared. Scared of what? Of being alone. Of being forgotten. Of all the things that scare grown-ups when they're not paying attention. Maya thought about this. Maybe she just needs a friend. Marcus kissed the top of her head. Maybe she does. Can we be her friend? Would you want to be? I think so. She seemed sad when she was pretending to be mean, like she was hurting inside. Marcus marveled for the 1,000th time at his daughter's heart. When did you get so wise? I learned from you, Daddy. You always say that hurt people, but loved people love people too. Marcus felt his eyes sting. Yeah, baby, that's exactly right. The captain's voice came over the intercom again. Good morning, everyone. We're beginning our descent into London Stansted. Current time in London is 6:47 a.m. Temperature is 8 degrees Celsius. That's about 46 Fahrenheit for our American guests. Should be on the ground in about 20 minutes. Victoria emerged from the back looking surprisingly rested. She'd changed into business attire, a sharp blazer-tailored pants, minimal jewelry. Good morning. Morning, Marcus said. Maya waved. Good morning, Miss Victoria. Did you sleep okay? Victoria smiled. Better than I have in months, actually. And please call me Victoria. Okay, Victoria. Maya grinned. Daddy says maybe we can be friends. Would you like that? Victoria looked at Marcus, something soft in her eyes. I would like that very much, Maya. Very much indeed. The plane descended through the clouds. London appeared below, gray and ancient and alive. Marcus watched Victoria's face as she stared out the window, preparing herself for the battle ahead. He saw the fear she was trying to hide, the doubt, the weight of everything riding on the next few hours. You're going to be fine, he said quietly. Victoria turned. You don't know that. No, but I believe it, and sometimes that's enough. She held his gaze. Stay with me today, during the meeting. I know it's a lot to ask, but I think I need you there. You and Maya. To remind me why I'm doing this. What actually matters. Marcus looked at his daughter. Maya nodded eagerly. We'll be there, Marcus said. Victoria exhaled. Thank you. The plane touched down in London, smooth as silk, and everything changed. The car pulled up to a glass tower in the heart of London's financial district at exactly 8:31 a.m. Victoria hadn't spoken for the last 15 minutes. She sat rigid in the back seat, reviewing notes on her tablet, her jaw tight with tension. Marcus sat beside her with Maya on his other side. Maya had pressed her face to the window, the entire drive gasping at every red double-decker bus, every black cab, every glimpse of something old and British. "We're here, Ms. Chen," the driver said. Victoria didn't move. "Victoria," Marcus said quietly. She looked up. Her eyes were glassy, unfocused. "I can't feel my hands." "What?" "My hands. They're numb. I think I'm having a panic attack." Marcus reached over and took her hand. It was ice cold. "Look at me." She did. "Breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth, slow." Victoria tried. Her breath came in shallow gasps. "I can't. Marcus, I can't do this. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have prepared more. I should have—" "Victoria, stop." She stopped. "You've been preparing for this meeting for 3 years. You know more about this deal than anyone alive. You've run a billion-dollar company since you were 32 years old. You've survived things that would have broken most people. But what if nothing? You're going to walk into that room and you're going to be yourself. Not the person you think they want. Not the person you've been pretending to be. Just you. That's enough. That's more than enough." Maya leaned across Marcus. "You can do it, Victoria. I believe in you." Victoria looked at the 8-year-old girl with the earnest eyes, and something in her face shifted. The panic retreated, replaced by something steadier. "Thank you, Maya. Daddy says believing is the first step. The second step is trying. The third step is not giving up. Your daddy is a very smart man." "I know," Maya grinned. "That's why I keep him around." Victoria laughed. It was shaky, but it was real. "Okay." She took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do this." They climbed out of the car. A cold London wind cut through them, but Victoria didn't seem to notice. She was focused, now locked in. "There's a waiting area on the 43rd floor," she told Marcus. "You and Maya can stay there during the meeting. It shouldn't take more than 2 hours." "We'll be fine. Go do what you came here to do." Victoria nodded. She started toward the building, then stopped and turned back. "Marcus." "Yeah. If something goes wrong in there, if I start falling back into old patterns, I don't know, send me a text or something. Remind me who I'm supposed to be." "Who are you supposed to be?" "I don't know yet, but I'm hoping you'll help me figure it out." She turned and walked into the building. Marcus took Maya's hand. "Come on, baby girl. Let's go find that waiting area." The lobby was all marble and glass, designed to intimidate. Security guards checked IDs. Assistants rushed past with coffee cups and worried expressions. Everything moved at a speed that made Marcus's head spin. An elevator carried them to the 43rd floor. A receptionist with a perfect smile directed them to a waiting area with leather couches and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Maya pressed her nose against the glass. "Daddy, I can see everything from up here." "Pretty amazing, huh?" "Is this where Victoria works?" "No, this is where the people she's meeting work. Victoria's office is back in California." "Is it this tall?" "Probably taller." Maya thought about this. "Being up high is nice, but I think I'd miss the ground." Marcus smiled. "Yeah, baby. Me too." They settled onto a couch. Maya pulled out the tablet Victoria had given her on the plane and started watching a movie. Marcus sat back, trying to relax. But his mind kept drifting to the conference room somewhere on this floor where Victoria was fighting for everything she'd built. An hour passed, then another. Marcus was starting to doze when his phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "They're trying to lowball me, saying our valuation is inflated. Standard negotiation tactics, but my instinct is to destroy them. Help." Marcus typed back quickly. "What would curious Victoria do?" A pause. Then, "Ask why they think that." Listen to their reasoning. Find the real concern underneath the posturing. So do that. Another pause. Longer this time. They're saying our AI patents are overvalued because the technology is evolving too fast. They want to cut our price by 30%. Is there any truth to what they're saying? Maybe. Some of the patents are 5 years old. Tech does move fast. Then acknowledge that. Show them you're not defensive. Find common ground. Mo. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times. This is hard. I know, but you can do it. How do you know? Because you're still asking questions instead of burning down the building. That's progress. A smiley face appeared. Then, okay, going back in. Wish me luck. You don't need luck. You need to be yourself. That's the scariest part. I know. Do it anyway. Marcus put down his phone. Maya looked up from her tablet. Was that Victoria? Yeah. Is she okay? She's working on it. Maya nodded seriously. Sometimes working on it is the hardest part. Where do you learn these things? From watching you, Daddy. Marcus pulled her close. I love you, baby girl. I love you too. She snuggled against him. Daddy. Yeah. Do you think Victoria is going to be our friend? Like for real? I don't know, Maya. Maybe. Would you like that? I think so. She seems lonely. Like she needs people, but doesn't know how to ask for them. That's very observant. It's like Tanya at school. Remember? She was mean to everyone because she didn't know how to make friends, but when Mrs. Patterson helped her learn, she became nice. You think Victoria just needs to learn how to make friends? Maybe. And maybe she needs someone to show her it's okay to be scared. Marcus marveled at his daughter. When did you get so smart about people? I pay attention. You always say that's the most important thing, paying attention and being kind. I say that all the time. Marcus didn't remember saying it, but he was glad he had. Another hour passed. Maya fell asleep against his side, the tablet still playing quietly. Marcus watched the clouds drift past the windows and thought about everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. Yesterday morning, he'd been packing a lunch for his daughter in their small kitchen in Newark. Now he was sitting in a London skyscraper while a billionaire fought for her company's future. Life was strange. His phone buzzed again. Victoria. They want to break for lunch. I think it's going well, but I'm not sure. They're hard to read. How do you feel? Terrified, exhausted, but also different. Different how? I'm listening to them, really listening. And I think they can tell. The energy in the room has changed. Less adversarial, more collaborative. That's good. Is it I keep waiting for them to take advantage, to see my openness as weakness? And have they? A pause. No. Actually, no. The lead negotiator, James Wright, he said something interesting. He said it was refreshing to work with someone who didn't treat every conversation like a war. Sounds like progress. Maybe. I don't know. I've been playing this game one way for so long it's hard to trust that another way might work. Trust is hard. That's why it matters. You sound like a fortune cookie again. My grandmother again, actually. I think I would have liked your grandmother. She would have liked you too. She always had a soft spot for stubborn people. I'm not stubborn. Victoria, you flew across an ocean in a plane that wouldn't start 6 hours earlier to make a meeting you could have rescheduled. That's not stubborn. That's determined. Sure it is. Another smiley face. I have to go. Lunch meeting with their CFO. Apparently he wants to talk about integration strategies. Good luck. Thanks, Marcus, for everything. You're doing all the hard work. I'm just sitting here watching your city through a window. That's not nothing. Knowing you're there, it helps. More than I can explain. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. Go to your meeting, Victoria. We'll be here when you're done. She sent a heart emoji. Marcus stared at it for a long moment, then put his phone away. What was happening here? What was he feeling? He'd known this woman for less than a day. She'd humiliated him, apologized, opened up in ways that surprised them both. And now they were texting like old friends, like people who'd known each other for years instead of hours. It didn't make sense. But then again, maybe some things weren't supposed to make sense. Maybe some connections just happened fast and unexpected like lightning strikes. Maya stirred beside him. "Daddy, what time is it?" "A little afternoon London time." "I'm hungry." "Me too. Let's see if we can find some food." They explored the floor and found a small cafe near the elevators. Marcus bought Maya a sandwich and some juice, got himself a coffee, and they sat by the windows, watching the city below. "Daddy, what's that big wheel?" "That's the London Eye. It's like a Ferris wheel but giant." "Can we ride it?" "Maybe, if there's time." "I hope there's time." Maya took a bite of her sandwich. "Daddy." "Yeah." "Are you happy?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, are you happy? Like with your life and stuff?" Marcus thought about it. "I'm happy when I'm with you. I'm happy when I'm fixing things, helping people. I'm happy when I make a difference." "But are you happy when you're alone?" "Why are you asking this?" Maya shrugged. "I don't know. Sometimes you look sad when you think I'm not watching. And I want you to be happy all the time, not just when I'm there." Marcus felt his heart crack a little. "Come here." Maya climbed into his lap. "Baby girl, I'm going to tell you something important. Are you listening?" "Yes, Daddy." Nobody is happy all the time. Not me, not you, not anybody. Happiness isn't something you have. It's something you feel, and feelings come and go like weather. But here's what matters. Even when I'm sad, even when I'm lonely, I'm grateful. Grateful for you, for the life we have, for every day I get to be your father. But you still get sad. Sometimes, and that's okay. Being sad doesn't mean something is wrong. It just means you're human. Maya hugged him tight. "I don't want you to be sad." "I know, baby. And your love makes the sad times easier. That's what matters." They sat like that for a while, father and daughter watching the London sky. Marcus's phone buzzed. "Victoria. It's done. We closed the deal. 4.2 billion. They accepted our valuation." Marcus exhaled. "Congratulations. How do you feel?" "I don't know. Relieved, exhausted. Something else I can't name." "That sounds about right." "I'm coming to the waiting area. Don't leave." "We're not going anywhere." 5 minutes later, Victoria appeared around the corner. She looked different. Not in her appearance, which was still polished and professional, but in something deeper. The tension that had defined her was gone. Her shoulders were down. Her face was softer. She stopped when she saw Marcus and Maya. "We did it." Marcus stood. "You did it, not we." "No." Victoria shook her head. "We. I couldn't have done this without you. Without what you taught me." "I didn't teach you anything. I just reminded you of what you already knew." Victoria closed the distance between them. "Can I tell you what happened in there?" "Of course." They sat down. Maya climbed into the seat between them, sensing something important was happening. "When they tried to lowball us, my first instinct was to attack, to list every reason they were wrong, every weakness in their position, every way I could hurt them. That's what I always do. That's what wins." "But you didn't do that." "No. I remembered what you said, about being curious instead of controlling. So I asked them why. Why did they think our valuation was too high? What were they really worried about? And it turned out they weren't trying to cheat us. They were scared. Scared that the technology would change too fast. Scared that the patents wouldn't hold value. Scared they were making a mistake." Victoria's voice was filled with wonder. "They were just scared, Marcus, like me. And once I understood that, everything changed. We stopped fighting and started problem solving. We found ways to share the risk, built-in protections for both sides. By the end, it didn't feel like a negotiation. It felt like a partnership. That's incredible. It felt incredible, like I'd been playing a game with the wrong rules my whole life, and someone finally showed me how it's really supposed to work. Maya tugged on Victoria's sleeve. Does that mean you won? Victoria looked at her. I think we all won, Maya. That's the best kind of winning. Maya grinned. See, Daddy, I told you she could do it. Yes, you did. Victoria reached out and squeezed Maya's hand. Thank you for believing in me, Maya. That meant more than you know. Believing is easy. You're the one who had to be brave. Victoria's eyes glistened. I'm not used to people being this kind to me. Then you've been around the wrong people, Marcus said. Victoria looked at him. Something passed between them, unspoken but powerful. Maybe I have been. The moment stretched. Then Victoria's phone rang, breaking the spell. I have to take this. It's my board. She stepped away to answer. Marcus watched her go, trying to sort through the chaos of feelings in his chest. Daddy. Yeah, baby. I think Victoria likes you. What makes you say that? The way she looks at you. It's the same way you look at her. How's that? Like she found something she didn't know she lost. Marcus stared at his daughter. You're way too smart for 8 years old. I know. Maya smiled. So what are you going to do about it? I don't know. It's complicated. Why? Because we live in different worlds. She's a billionaire CEO. I'm a mechanic from Newark. We have different lives, different responsibilities. But you like her. Marcus hesitated. I barely know her. You know her better than most people do. She said so herself. That doesn't mean, Daddy. Maya put her hand on his arm. You always tell me to be brave, to take chances, to not let fear stop me from doing good things. Maybe you should listen to yourself. Marcus looked at his daughter, at her mother's eyes and her grandmother's wisdom and something entirely her own. When did you become the parent? I'm just saying what you taught me. The rest is up to you. Victoria returned, sliding her phone into her pocket. Board is thrilled. Stock is going to spike when this news breaks. Everyone's happy. Everyone? Victoria paused. Almost everyone. The head of our legal team is upset that I didn't push harder on some provisions. He thinks I left money on the table. Did you? Maybe. Probably. I don't know. Victoria shrugged. But I got something else instead. What? Respect, trust, a real partnership with people I'm going to be working with for years. She looked at Marcus. You were right. Some things are worth more than money. I'm glad you found that out. Me too. Victoria checked her watch. Listen, I have about 3 hours before I need to be back for the signing ceremony. What do you say we get out of this building and see some of London? Maya jumped up. Can we ride the London Eye? Please, please, please. Victoria laughed. I think that can be arranged. They rode the elevator down together. The lobby was still all marble and glass, still designed to intimidate, but it felt different now. Smaller somehow. Outside, the London sky had cleared. Pale winter sun broke through the clouds. Victoria's car was waiting, but she waved the driver off. Let's walk. I've been in that conference room for 4 hours. I need to move. They walked through the financial district, past ancient churches and modern skyscrapers, through narrow streets that had seen centuries of history. Maya held both their hands, swinging between them like they were a unit of family. Marcus caught Victoria watching them at one point, a strange expression on her face. What? Nothing. She shook her head. Just thinking about how different today could have been. If you hadn't fixed that plane, if you hadn't come with me, if Maya hadn't looked at me with those eyes and decided I was worth believing in. Life is full of ifs. I know, but these ifs led somewhere good, and I don't want to forget that. They reached the Thames. The London Eye rose ahead of them, a giant white wheel against the gray sky. Maya pulled them toward it. "Come on, let's go." They bought tickets, climbed into a glass capsule, rose slowly above the city, watching London spread out below them like a map. Maya pressed against the glass, naming everything she could see. Big Ben, Parliament, the bridges crossing the river. Victoria stood beside Marcus, close but not quite touching. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For showing me there's another way to live. For not giving up on me when I gave you every reason to. Everyone deserves a second chance." "Do they? Even people like me?" Marcus turned to face her. "Everyone, Victoria. Even billionaires who build walls." She smiled. It was different from her other smiles, softer, more real. "What happens now?" "What do you mean?" "I mean after this, after the signing, after we fly back. What happens to whatever this is?" Marcus looked at his daughter, still pressed against the glass, still marveling at the world. "I don't know. I've never been good at planning ahead." "Neither have I. Strange for someone who runs a company. Maybe planning isn't the point. Maybe showing up is." Victoria nodded slowly. "Then I'd like to keep showing up, if that's okay with you." Marcus felt something shift inside him, something that had been closed for a long time. "Yeah, that's okay with me." Victoria reached out and took his hand. They stood like that, suspended above London, watching the world turn below them. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Marcus Thompson felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't alone anymore. The signing ceremony ended at 7:14 p.m. London time. Victoria walked out of the conference room, looking like someone who'd just climbed a mountain, exhausted but exhilarated, changed in ways she couldn't yet articulate. Marcus and Maya were waiting in the lobby. "It's official," Victoria said. "ChenCorp just became the largest AI infrastructure company in the Western Hemisphere." Maya clapped her hands. "Does that mean you're really, really rich now?" Victoria laughed. "I was already really, really rich, Maya. Now I'm just more responsible." "That doesn't sound as fun." "It's not, but it matters." Marcus stood. "Congratulations. You did something incredible today." "We did something incredible." Victoria corrected him. "I meant what I said before. This doesn't happen without you." "All I did was fix a valve and send some texts." "You did more than that. You reminded me what it feels like to be human." They walked out of the building together. London had turned cold, and dark streetlights reflecting off wet pavement. Victoria's car waited at the curb, but she hesitated before getting in. "The plane is fueled and ready. We could be back in New Jersey by midnight East Coast time." "Sounds good." "But," Marcus waited. "But I don't want this to end. Not yet." "Is that strange?" "No, it's not strange." Victoria looked at him, vulnerable in a way that would have been impossible 24 hours ago. "I've spent my whole life rushing from one thing to the next, closing deals, making plans, moving forward. I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to just be." "That's okay. You're learning." "Am I? Or am I just pretending until I forget again?" Marcus took her hand. "Victoria, listen to me. What happened today, the way you handled that meeting, the courage it took to try something different that wasn't pretending, that was real. And real things don't disappear just because the moment passes." Victoria's eyes glistened in the streetlight. "How do you always know what to say?" "I don't. I just say what I'm thinking and hope it helps." Maya tugged on both their sleeves. "I'm cold. Can we get in the car?" They laughed and climbed into the warm interior. The driver pulled away from the curb, heading toward the airport. Maya fell asleep within minutes, her head resting on Marcus's shoulder. Victoria sat across from them, watching. "She's remarkable," Victoria said quietly. "She's my whole world." "I can tell." Victoria paused. "Can I ask you something?" Sure. After her mother left, did you ever think about dating again? Finding someone new? Marcus was quiet for a moment. I thought about it, but it never felt right. I was so focused on being there for Maya, on making sure she didn't grow up feeling abandoned, that I didn't have room for anything else. And now? Now. Marcus looked at his sleeping daughter, then back at Victoria. Now I'm starting to think maybe I had the equation wrong. Maybe being there for Maya doesn't mean being alone. Maybe it means showing her what healthy love looks like. Victoria held his gaze. And what does healthy love look like? I'm still figuring that out, but I think it starts with honesty, with showing up even when it's hard, with choosing someone not because they're perfect, but because they're worth the effort. That sounds terrifying. It is, but the best things usually are. Victoria smiled. You said that to me before, on the plane. Did it make sense then? Not really, but it does now. They rode in silence for a while, the city lights giving way to darker suburbs. Marcus. Yeah. When we get back to New Jersey, I don't want to just go back to our separate lives. I don't want to pretend this was just some strange 24-hour adventure that doesn't mean anything. What do you want? I want to see you again, both of you. I want to figure out what this is, where it could go. Victoria's voice trembled slightly. I've never said anything like that to anyone. I'm not good at asking for things I actually want. Why not? Because wanting things makes you vulnerable, and vulnerability gets you hurt. That's true, but it also gets you connected. It gets you loved. Victoria looked out the window. I don't know if I remember how to be loved. Then maybe it's time to learn again. They reached the airport. The G700 waited on the tarmac, engines humming, ready to carry them home. Marcus carried Maya onto the plane and laid her in the bedroom again. She stirred briefly. Daddy. We're going home. Baby girl? Sleep. Okay. She smiled without opening her eyes. I love you. I love you too, more than anything. He closed the bedroom door and found Victoria in the main cabin, standing by a window looking out at the runway. You okay? I'm scared. Of what? Of going back. Of the real world. Of finding out that everything we built in the last day falls apart the moment I step off this plane. Marcus walked to her. What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't fall apart? What if this is the start of something instead of the end? Victoria turned to face him. You really believe that? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. Are you? She didn't answer with words. She kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, both of them surprised by the moment. Then it deepened. Became something real, something that had been building since he'd first walked into that hangar with his taped-up toolbox. When they pulled apart, Victoria was crying. I'm sorry. I don't know why Don't apologize. Not for this. I just feel so much. It's overwhelming. I know. Me too. They stood there, foreheads touching, breathing together. The pilot's voice came over the intercom. Ms. Chen, Mr. Thompson, we're cleared for takeoff. Flight time to Teterboro is approximately 7 hours. We should land around midnight local time. Victoria wiped her eyes. Thank you, Captain. She looked at Marcus. 7 more hours. Seems like a lot can happen in 7 hours. It seems like a lot can happen in 1 day. They sat down together, side by side this time. Victoria rested her head on his shoulder as the plane lifted off. Tell me about your grandmother, she said. Ella May. Tell me everything. So Marcus did. He told her about the little house in Baltimore, the garden out back, the wedding dresses his grandmother made with hands that never stopped moving. He told her about Sundays at church, about collard greens simmering on the stove, about the way Ella May would hum old spirituals while she worked. He told her about the day his parents died, the way his world shattered, the way his grandmother picked up the pieces and rebuilt everything from scratch. He told her about the lessons, the wisdom, the quiet strength that had shaped him into the man he became. And Victoria listened, really listened, not waiting to respond or planning her next move, just absorbing his words like water into dry earth. "She sounds amazing," Victoria said when he finished. "She was. I miss her every day." "When did she pass?" "6 years ago, cancer. She fought it for 2 years, never complained once. Just kept making her dresses, kept going to church, kept loving me until her last breath." "But what was the last thing she said to you?" Marcus's eyes stung. "She said, 'Marcus, don't you forget, you're made of good stuff. Don't let nobody tell you different.'" Victoria squeezed his hand. She was right. "I try to remember that. Some days are harder than others." "I think that's true for everyone." They talked through the night, about loss and fear and hope, about the walls they'd built and the bridges they were learning to construct, about Maya and the future, and all the uncertainty that came with being human. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Victoria fell asleep against his shoulder. Marcus stayed awake watching the stars through the window, thinking about how strange life was, how the worst day could become the best day, how a broken valve could lead to a fixed heart. He thought about Angela, about the pain of being left, about the years of rebuilding. And he realized something he'd been afraid to admit. He wasn't angry anymore. The bitterness he'd carried, the resentment he'd hidden even from himself, it was gone. Not because Angela had been right to leave, but because holding on to that pain wasn't serving him anymore. Maybe Victoria had needed to learn about vulnerability. Maybe he'd needed to learn about letting go. The plane landed at Teterboro at 12:17 a.m. Maya woke up as they touched down, groggy but happy. "Are we home?" "Almost, baby girl, almost." They descended the stairs into the cool New Jersey night. Marcus's Civic was still parked where he'd left it, looking even more out of place among the expensive cars than it had before. Victoria looked at it and laughed. "You know, I think I'm starting to love that car. It gets me where I need to go. That's all that matters." They stood there, the three of them, not quite sure how to say goodbye. "So," Victoria said, "what happens now?" "Now I take my daughter home, put her to bed, and try to process everything that happened today. And then tomorrow I wake up and figure out what comes next." Victoria nodded. "Can I call you tomorrow?" "You better." She smiled. "I don't know how to do this, Marcus. Dating, relationships, any of it. I've been alone so long I've forgotten the steps." "There aren't steps. There's just showing up, being honest, trying." "You make it sound simple." "It's not. But simple and easy aren't the same thing." Victoria turned to Maya. "Thank you for coming with me, Maya. You made today better." Maya hugged her small arms wrapped around Victoria's waist. "Thank you for taking us to London, and for the London Eye, and for being brave." Victoria's eyes filled again. "I'll try to keep being brave. For you." "You don't have to be brave for me. You have to be brave for you." Victoria looked at Marcus over Maya's head. "She's incredible." "I know." Maya pulled back and took her father's hand. "Come on, Daddy, I'm tired." Marcus looked at Victoria one last time. "I meant what I said, about being willing to find out where this goes. I meant it too." "Okay then. Okay." He walked to his car, Maya's hand in his. At the door he turned back. Victoria was still standing there, watching them, looking smaller than she had all day. "Victoria." "Yeah. You're going to be okay. You know that, right?" She nodded slowly. "I'm starting to believe it." Marcus smiled, climbed into his Civic, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, he watched Victoria stand there until she disappeared into the distance. 3 months later, Marcus Thompson sat in his small garage in Newark, working on a boat engine for a neighbor. The radio played classic rock softly in the background. Tools lined the walls, organized the way his grandmother had taught him. Everything had its place. His phone buzzed. Victoria. "Board meeting ran late. Still on for dinner, he typed back. Always. Maya's making a welcome sign. Tell her I can't wait. She knows. She's been talking about it all week. A pause. Then, I love you, you know. Marcus stared at the words. They'd said it before, but every time still felt like the first time. Like a door opening to a room he'd forgotten existed. I love you too. See you in 2 hours. Drive safe. I always do. No, you don't. A laughing emoji. Then silence. Marcus put down his phone and looked around his garage, at the tools and the engines and the years of work they represented. 3 months ago, he'd been a single father struggling to make ends meet, invisible to a world that didn't care about people like him. Now he was still that father, still that mechanic. But something had shifted. Victoria had become part of their life. Not in a way that overwhelmed or changed who they were, but in a way that expanded it. Sunday dinners together, video calls during the week, visits whenever her schedule allowed. She was learning how to build bridges. So was he. It wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes. About her work schedule, about his stubbornness, about all the normal things couples fight about. But they always came back to the table. Always chose connection over distance. Maya adored her. That had been the biggest surprise, how naturally Victoria had taken to being part of a child's life. She read bedtime stories over video chat, sent postcards from business trips, remembered every small detail Maya told her. The walls were coming down one brick at a time. Marcus finished the engine repair and wiped his hands. Through the garage window, he could see Maya in the backyard carefully coloring a large piece of poster board. Welcome, Victoria, it said, surrounded by hearts and stars, and what appeared to be an airplane. He walked outside. Looking good, baby girl. Maya looked up, marker in hand. Do you think she'll like it? She'll love it. I want it to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be from you. That's what makes it special. Maya considered this. That's what Victoria says about her meetings. She says the best ones are the ones where people are real instead of perfect. She told you that. On our last video call, she said being real is braver than being perfect. Marcus smiled. She's learning. We all are, Daddy. He sat down next to her on the grass. Maya, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy with how things are, with Victoria being part of our life? Maya set down her marker and looked at him seriously. Are you happy, Daddy? I asked first. But my answer depends on yours. Marcus thought about the question. Really thought about it. Yeah, I'm happy. Happier than I've been in a long time. Maya nodded. Then I'm happy too. Because when you're happy, everything feels lighter. Like the house is warmer, and the food tastes better, and the mornings aren't so hard. When did you notice things felt hard? Before. After Mom left. You tried to hide it, but I could tell. You smiled, but your eyes didn't. You laughed, but it sounded tired. Marcus felt his chest tighten. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't want you to carry that. I didn't carry it. I just saw it. And I wanted to help, but I didn't know how. You helped by being you. Every day, every note in your lunchbox, every hug. You're the reason I got through it. Maya leaned against him. And now Victoria helps too. Yeah, she does. So I'm happy, Daddy, really happy. Because we're not alone anymore. And being not alone is the best feeling in the world. Marcus wrapped his arm around her. You're right, baby girl. It really is. 2 hours later, Victoria's car pulled into the driveway. Not the usual town car with a driver, but a rental. Something modest and practical. She'd started doing that driving herself when she visited. Said it helped her feel normal, connected to the world instead of floating above it. Maya sprinted out of the house with her poster. Victoria, Victoria, look what I made? Victoria knelt down and examined the poster with appropriate seriousness. This is incredible, Maya. Is that an airplane? It's your airplane. The one that brought us to London. Remember. How could I forget? It's the airplane that changed everything. She hugged Maya tight, then looked up at Marcus standing on the porch. Hey, you. Hey, yourself. She stood and walked toward him. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, no makeup, hair loose around her shoulders. She looked like a different person than the woman who'd confronted him in that hangar 3 months ago. She looked like someone who'd finally stopped running. Long drive. Traffic on 95, but worth it. Always is. She kissed him, soft and familiar and right. I missed you. It's been 4 days. 4 very long days. Maya grabbed both their hands. Come on, come on. I made place cards for dinner and everything. We have to eat while it's hot. They walked inside together. Over dinner, Victoria talked about her work. Not the way she used to as a weapon or a wall, but as something she was genuinely excited about. The integration with Nexus was going well. Her teams were collaborating instead of competing. The culture was shifting. James Wright called me yesterday, she said. The lead negotiator from London. What did he want? To thank me. He said working with us has been the best experience of his career. His exact words were, finally a partner who treats us like humans. Marcus smiled. That's because you started treating yourself like one. That's what my therapist says. You're seeing a therapist. Started last month. You were right. I needed to learn how to put the weight down. Turns out that's harder than running a company. Most things are. Maya interrupted. Victoria, tell us about the London Eye again. The part where you were scared to go up. I wasn't scared, Maya. I was concerned. Daddy said you squeezed his hand really tight. Victoria laughed. Okay, maybe I was a little scared. Heights aren't my thing. But you did it anyway. I did. Because sometimes the best views are on the other side of fear. Maya nodded seriously. That's what Daddy says about life. Your daddy is a smart man. I know. That's why I keep him around. After dinner, they sat on the porch watching the sun set. Maya curled up between them, fighting sleep. I've been thinking, Victoria said quietly. About what? About the future. About what I want my life to look like. And I think I've been wrong about a lot of things. I thought success meant building something bigger than everyone else. But I'm starting to think it means building something that matters. Something real. What matters to you? Victoria looked at Maya, already asleep, then at Marcus. This, you, her, being part of something I didn't create or control, something that exists because we choose it every day. That sounds like a pretty good definition of success. It does, doesn't it? Victoria paused. I want to be here more. Not just visits. Not just weekends. I want to really be here. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm opening an East Coast office. I'm saying I'm cutting back my travel. I'm saying I want to build a life, not just a company. Marcus felt something warm spread through his chest. You sure about that? It's a big change. The biggest change I've ever made. Victoria took his hand. But you taught me something. You taught me that showing up is everything, and I want to show up. For you. For Maya. For whatever we're building together. Marcus was quiet for a moment. My grandmother used to say there are 2 kinds of people in the world. I remember. Wall builders and bridge builders. Yeah, but she also said something else. She said the hardest bridges to build are the ones inside yourself, the ones that connect who you are to who you want to be. That's beautiful. She was beautiful. Marcus looked at Victoria. And so are you. Not because of how you look or what you've built, but because you're brave enough to change, brave enough to try, brave enough to let people in. Victoria's eyes shone. I love you, Marcus Thompson. I love you too, Victoria Chen. What happens next? I don't know, but I'm not worried about it anymore. Why not? Because whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. That's what families do. Victoria froze. Family. That's what this is, isn't it? Maybe not the traditional kind. Maybe not what either of us planned. But family all the same. Victoria looked at Maya sleeping between them. At the small house with the small garage. At the life so different from everything she'd known. And she smiled. Yeah, family. I like the sound of that. They sat together as the stars came out. Two people who'd found each other against all odds. Marcus Thompson never sought fame, never chased recognition. He just showed up, listened, and fixed what was broken. And in a world obsessed with the newest technology and the fastest solutions, he was a quiet reminder of something timeless. Sometimes the most powerful tool isn't the most advanced. Sometimes it's just experience, patience, and the wisdom to listen. That's a lesson no diploma can teach. Only years of watching giants breathe. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the giants breathe back. They give you something you didn't know you needed. They give you a reason to keep going. They give you home. The old toolbox sat by the garage door ready for the next call. Because there would always be a next call. And Marcus Thompson would always answer.